Hi, everybody. So today I wanted to come on today and present Leaky Gut Solutions. So what is leaky gut, right? We're probably all wondering exactly what is it. I think more and more people have heard about leaky gut through the health and wellness world. However, we may not have a full understanding of what is leaky gut. Basically, the gut lining is made to keep out the bad stuff while keeping in the good stuff. And we want to think of the gut as like brick with mortar. The brick is the foundation, and the mortar is what keeps the foundation firm and glued together, right? So that if there's a storm, it's not going to collapse, ideally. With leaky gut, the mortar has been either removed or broken down. So for this reason, undigested food particles and toxins are leaving the gut area and not traveling to the liver and whatnot to be detoxified accordingly, but it's getting into our bloodstream. So our bloodstream is getting oversaturated with toxins, and as well as the foreign particles such as undigested foods. And when this toxins and foreign particles are traveling through the bloodstream, they're able to go to the brain via the vagus nerve. So there's the gut-brain connection, or they're going to organs. And so we're experiencing toxic overload. And I think people still tend to think that leaky gut is digestive issues only. And do they include gas, bloat, and constipation? Of course, but it's far beyond that. It's also including anxiety, depression, infertility, hormonal imbalances in general, rashes such as eczema and psoriasis. So it's so far beyond just my stomach hurts. So we're going to dive in today to see, like, again, if you can say that you've experienced at least 2 to 3 of those symptoms that I was just speaking of: insomnia, anxiety, depression, infertility, sugar cravings. What else? Other than the constipation, gas, bloating, of course. It's just like autoimmune issues, thyroid issues, adrenal issues. It all comes down to the state of health of your gut. So in resolving a lot of those issues that we just touched on, the first step is often a very good gut health protocol. So let's dive in. I'm going to share the screen. Bear with me because I tend to need some improvement with my technology. Okay. And then 1 second here. I want to make it full screen. Okay, the leaky gut solution. So you see here in the picture, again, I think the first way to kind of address leaky gut is people associate it with, like, if you can say that food does not do you well, you have leaky gut. So if anytime after you eat, if you can say that you feel better when you're not eating, you have leaky gut, and you need to figure out what's causing this. And I just finished the Whole Journeys Gut Thrive and 5 Health Practitioner Program. And basically, and we're about to touch on this, is there's certain categories that you could fall into. I would be giving you an entire assessment, and then based on your answers in the questionnaire, I believe it was like 75 questions, don't quote me on that. But based on that, you would fall within categories. Do you have a parasite? Do you have a pathogen? Bacterial related, fungi related, H. pylori, which is low stomach acid, those kind of things, protozoa. And based on what category you fall into, you would have a specific supplemental protocol in addition to a dietary plan. And not every one of those categories is the same. So you can't just follow a typical gut health protocol without really knowing what's your particular issue, because there are certain foods, for instance, that SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, cannot have. Okay, people who are dealing with SIBO cannot have, but people on H. pylori, they're still allowed those particular foods. Cacao is one of those foods that, like, you don't want, even though it's a superfood, you don't want to have it until you've resolved the root cause. And you often have a little bit of all those categories, but there's one main issue. So that's a whole nother story, but it's beyond just tummy troubles is what I'm getting to. Okay. So you'll see here the importance of gut health. We cannot stress that enough in the wellness world. The gut or the gastrointestinal system is truly a gateway to overall health. So again, the reason why I said you would want to target your gut health first in order to resolve so many other things going on. The gut microbiome is an ecosystem of organisms including bacteria, yeast, fungi, viruses, and protozoan throughout the digestive tract, far beyond just digestive health. The following organ systems are also closely related to gut health: your immune system, your endocrine system, which is your hormones and glands, your nervous system, circulatory system, integumentary system, your skin, respiratory system, and your reproductive system. So again, like I said, the state of your gut, the state of the health of your gut will have a huge impact. And where people who are having asthma or really major allergies, they might be thinking that's something beyond gut, but sometimes it's going down and back to the state of your gut. A few key points to consider. There is 10 times the amount of bacteria in our body than our own cells, and the majority of them are found within our digestive system. The gastrointestinal system contains 90% of the body's happy hormone, serotonin. So again, that gut-brain connection through the vagus nerve, serotonin, 90% of serotonin is formed in your gut. Most importantly, approximately 70% of our immune system is housed in our gut. As you can tell, gut health doesn't stop at digestion. The health of our gut affects nearly every system in our body. Okay, so as we were just talking about, what is leaky gut, right? What is it? Leaky gut is a term that refers to intestinal hyperpermeability and has become an increasingly more common health problem seen today. Leaky gut causes major health problems, including autoimmunity. So if you're experiencing Hashimoto's, multiple sclerosis, even type 2 diabetes is not necessarily autoimmune. Autoimmune is where your body's attacking itself. I'm trying to think of some other autoimmune issues. Lupus, like I said, muscular sclerosis, so many other ones. How though? How can this happen? Intestinal hyperpermeability is exactly what it sounds like. The digestive tract is no longer able to ensure the good stays in and the bad stays out, as I just spoke about. Instead, the tight junctions, the mortar, or the proteins holding the intestinal walls together are loosened. The toxins then can enter the bloodstream. So the brick wall, and then you have the mortar, which are the tight junctions. The tight junctions are composed of proteins, which is what's holding them all together, but they become permeable and toxins can now enter the bloodstream. The body reacts to these foreign particles in the blood by producing immune antibodies or pro-inflammatory cells to fight them off. This breeds chronic inflammation, food allergies, and various health complications. Of course, there is no sign of improvement until the gut's permeability is addressed. So you have to get to the root cause. Fortunately, we now have a better understanding of the causes, obstacles, and treatments for treatment methods for leaky gut, so there is a stop to the cycle. And that's what I was so fortunate to have been chosen to become the first class of the Whole Journeys Gut Thrive in 5 health practitioner program, in which we learned a 5-step protocol. And I'll kind of touch on that later. How the gut gets leaky. So again, we're talking about more, you have it most likely. If you find that you have constipation, gas, bloating, belching, acid reflux, eczema, psoriasis, infertility issues, allergies, blah, 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 right? You probably have some form of leaky gut. But how did you get there? So several factors have proved to be negatively affect the gut's integrity. The most prominent include the standard American diet, processed sugar, refined, full of chemicals, additives, and preservatives. Exposure to chemicals in our hair care products, our skincare products, makeup, and outside in the environment. Chronic infections, gluten and other grains, food allergies, excessive medications, antibiotics, antibiotics. Antibiotics are necessary at times, but the problem with them, if you're using them so many times, you only need to have it one time in the year, and it can really have a huge detrimental effect on your gut, because antibiotics go in and they not only kill off the bad gut bacteria or the viruses, or the bacterial issues, not viruses, but they kill the good stuff too. So you've just killed off the healthy microbiome as well. And that's why they're an aggressive form of treatment. Whereas if you do like the Gut Thrive in 5 program, it's a very gentle approach to healing your gut, not quite as aggressive, because you don't want to kill off the good stuff. You want to help foster the good stuff while you're taking out the bad stuff. And then poorly managed stress. I can't emphasize that one enough. Stress has been, I think, probably the main issue we all need to be dealing with more and more this day and age, because stress influences your food choices, your exercise choices, and your hormones tremendously, which then influences your appetite, the way that your body metabolizes, your thyroid, which is it controls your metabolism. Stress can really affect the thyroid. Again, it's a systemic issue. You can't treat just one part of the body. You must treat the system as a whole. And that's a big reason why I chose to say Amy, whole health, because you're targeting your whole health, your whole being, and not just diet and exercise. The SAD diet. So that picture says it all. You see beer, burgers, fries. Oh my Lord. If you're doing this on a regular basis, you're talking insults to the gut. The standard American diet, rightfully known as the SAD diet, is one of the leading causes of the chronic health issues we see today. According to a 2009 study conducted by the USDA, 63% of the calories Americans are consuming come from processed foods containing preservatives, refined grains, and added sugars and oils. So when you see, what's the phrase with cereals, enriched, that basically means they stripped the grain of all of its seeds and where the nourishment and the nutrients are. They stripped those down and it becomes pretty much a white processed ingredient. And then they enrich the ingredient by adding in vitamins and minerals. And what I learned at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, so you want to think of this as a dollar bill. So you start out with a dollar bill, you strip it down to 0, and they only add in about 20%. And you're losing 80% of that nourishment compared to the whole food-based food product. So be careful of when you see enriched. It's not necessarily that you're getting a better product. Or one that's more bioavailable. It's almost as though the general public took it upon themselves to refigure the food pyramid to consist of grain at the base, majority of the food being grains, dairy in the middle, and sugar at the top, all inflammatory to the body and all promoting an internal environment of high inflammation and disease-producing environment. when in all honesty, none of these foods have any business being part of the diet at all. Okay. Rude. You can call it what you want. Food. Frankenfoods, food-like substances, fake food, but you most definitely can't call most of our food supply real food. When the majority of our diets are packaged meals with paragraph long ingredient lists and labels we cannot understand, we are not eating real food. So keep that in mind. We're eating lab-created food products. So basically, you're eating chemicals. A couple of alarming facts. The United States Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, has approved approximately 3,000 different food additives, preservatives, and colorings without adequate research on safety. The average person ingests over 150 pounds of additives each year, 150 pounds. The magnitude that these chemicals are allowed into our lives is incomprehensible. We are becoming more and more aware of the consequences of this fake food lifestyle, and it is simply unacceptable. This is only one factor in the leaky gut epidemic, but definitely a big one. Up next, we will be discussing other factors responsible for the onset and progression of leaky gut. So with all that being said, I'm a huge children's advocate for nutrition. And it really bothers me when I see terms such as mommy food and kid food, as if your kids are immune to all these diseases, all these chemicals, and the issues that they're going to be dealing with down the road. The 30 and 40-year-old generation that we see now dealing with issues that people in previous generations did not deal with until their 70s, only means that it means that the products that we were raised on did not serve beneficial for our well-being. And it took years of damage before we started experiencing type 2 diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, and the list can go, insulin resistance. But what's going to happen is these kids are eating even more of it and less active. So they're eating more chemicals and having a more sedentary lifestyle than we had when we were children. They're going to be experiencing these diseases earlier on. So I always pose this question to parents. Do you want your children to experience perhaps what you're experiencing now? So I am, and it's so nice to see there are a lot of adults and a lot of parents doing health journeys and tackling their own issues so that they can be around for their children. So they're doing it for their kids. But I think the best thing that you can do as well is helping them adopt the same lifestyle habits that you are. Please don't think that they're immune to these lifestyle-related diseases. They will show up just like they showed up for you in your 30s, possibly 20s, 30s, or 40s for you, but it's going to be earlier. So keep that in mind. I'm big on children's nutrition. I don't work with children, but I'm big on it. Sick and inflamed. Inflammation is a vital immune response and is the body's attempt to defend itself against pathogens, heal from injury, and repair damaged tissue. So you're going to have some of this at any rate at some point in time. The body can heal itself, so it's prepared to deal with some of that. Problem that we have right now is it's too much of all of those things. Chronic inflammation, however, is not beneficial to our bodies in any way. Chronic inflammation means it's ongoing. Acute inflammation means it's in the moment, it gets healed up, and then you go back to a body imbalance. Chronic inflammation means it's lingering on. In fact, it can worsen the body's ability to recognize foreign invaders and puts the body in a state of stress for extended periods of time. This can cause lasting damage, increased food allergies, and eventually autoimmunity. So we are seeing a huge increase in people with food sensitivities, food allergies, but a huge increase in autoimmune issues. You know, like I said, lupus is a big one that I'm hearing about more and more. And it doesn't have to be this way. So if you start to develop these issues, it's really important that you really look into your diet and lifestyle factors while healing your gut. So don't accept that like once you have an autoimmune issue that you'll never recover. There's somebody on Instagram, I really like her, Goodbye Lupus. She basically cured her lupus with just a whole food-based diet plan, plant-based. This type of inflammation can be caused by a number of things, but largely seen as a result of leaky gut syndrome and poor dietary habits. So again, you got the leaky gut from poor dietary habits, stress, and everything that we talked about previously. If chronic inflammation goes untreated, leaky gut is worsened and the body ultimately loses its ability to repair from the damage. So that's the key point here. If we continue to have levels of chronic inflammation, the body eventually stops being able to repair itself. And what do you have? Illness and disease. Okay. Gluten. So gluten 101. That was the first thing personally. And you guys, for me, it has been a process of 5 to 6 years of coming like cleaner and cleaner and cleaner and healthier and healthier and healthier. Gluten was the first thing that I took out of my diet when I finally realized through a cleanse system that I was like, whoa, gluten does not work well with me. And I didn't understand the signs and symptoms at that time, but now I do. Gluten is the general term for a mix of proteins in many grains such as wheat, barley, and rye. Gluten has found itself in much of our food supply, disguised in packaged foods and featured in most pre-made dishes, pre-prepared. It is no surprise that the consumption of gluten has increased immensely and our health is suffering from it. Gluten allergies, sensitivities, and intolerances are becoming increasingly common. Gluten-free has become a buzzword with the health community, and people are finally beginning to explore how dangerous gluten can be for the health. So to go back 5 or 6 years ago when I was starting to take it out, it was very trendy and it wasn't seen as imperative. But again, we fast forward 5 or 6 years and people are a lot more educated and understanding how detrimental it has been. But how is it dangerous, you ask? Gluten makes your leaky gut. So basically gluten causes leaky gut. Simple as that. Zonulin, a protein found in gluten, zonulin, increases the permeability of the gut by further opening the spaces between the cells. So zonulin, which is in gluten, take that mortar and it kind of tears it up. It makes it more, it spaces it out. The antibodies normally released as a result of leaky gut are accompanied by more antibodies created to attack one of gluten's most prominent, I gotta reduce this, 1 second, guys. Most prominent building blocks, gliadin. I have a trouble saying that. This leads to more inflammation, more bodily confusion, and more health complications. In other words, your body reacts to the consumption of gluten by creating a defense mechanism to fight it. Once this damage has occurred within the digestive tract, it is then distributed throughout the entire body. So that is where gluten can be really detrimental. How gluten harms. Okay, so I'm going to increase this again. Aside from contributing, if not entirely causing leaky gut, gluten increases inflammation, overall digestive distress, and alters the balance of our microbiome. So back in the day when I was eating pretty much all processed foods for the most part, and a ton of gluten, like I was addicted to pretzels, honey wheat pretzels from Trader Joe's were my thing. I could eat English muffins, pretzels. But at that time, I was like, low fat, right? They're low fat. They're good for athletes. I run a lot. I work out a lot. My body needs it. Graham crackers. I mean, you name it, I was eating it. And it wasn't until, again, I did a cleanse. I did a 7-day cleanse. And then I reintroduced my gluten-containing oatmeal because oatmeal is supposed to be good for you. And it was my breakfast of 17 years because I'm pretty regimented like that. I noticed the dizziness and the fatigue. So gluten affected my brain in particular. Did I have digestive issues? Of course. I thought it was normal. I thought it was just normal that I was going to the bathroom pretty much after every meal. I thought, but I look back and at that time, iron deficiency. I had some nutrient deficiencies. I had some energy issues. I had some dizziness and I had brain fog, major brain fog. And that was all primarily gluten. Our microbiome must be equipped with efficient, healthy bacteria in order to be successful in carrying out its necessary functions. Without the proper balance of bacteria, the following functions are disrupted: digestion, immune system. I was sick all the time because I wasn't absorbing nutrients from foods. Nutrient absorption, hormone regulation, vitamin production, detoxification, mood management, and many more. So without good bacteria, your digestion's off, your immune system's off, your nutrient absorption is off, your hormone regulation is off, vitamin production is off, detoxification is off, your mood is off, and many more. So hormone regulation, I'm going to kind of refer to my own issue, and nutrient absorption. High LDL is often a result of a hormonal imbalance, and something's not right in your detoxification system, liver health in particular. So for me, when I was eating a ton of gluten, my LDL has been an issue. I'm still on the search and I need to get it checked. But vitamin D and cholesterol, I mean, there's so many things that are interrelated that if your body's not absorbing nutrients appropriately, it can lead to a host of other issues, no question. Just to touch on that real quickly. Primary effects of gluten. Gluten produces both primary and secondary effects. The damage gluten causes that we have talked about thus far are mostly been the primary effects. Intestinal hyperpermeability, leaky gut, permeability of blood-brain barrier, the onset of autoimmune diseases, such as celiac disease, Crohn's, and ulcerative colitis, the development of psychological disorders, way undermined, extremely undermined, how nutrition and mental health are correlated, dysbiosis or abnormal bacteria growth, acute allergic or IgE responses, and a delayed antibody response. While all of these issues are very serious within themselves, they too cause further complications. Next comes the secondary effects of gluten. Okay, so here are the secondary effects. The secondary effects of gluten exposure include severe nutrient deficiencies, such as iron and B12. And again, through the gut health program, I've learned that low stomach acid is often associated with low iron, which is H. pylori. So you have severe nutrient deficiencies such as iron and B12, which those two, if you're deficient in those two vitamins and minerals, you experience extreme exhaustion, headaches, the inability to focus, and I experience anxiety with my low iron. Systemic inflammation, including leading to organ and tissue breakdown. So you have severe nutrient deficiencies as secondary, and then you have systemic inflammation, which leads to organ and tissue breakdown. It may seem a bit redundant that we keep coming back to how your body acts on gluten, but it is one of the most important pieces of information you can take from this webinar. Gluten is a major component of the leaky gut cycle. If it is present in the onset, the maintenance and the progression of this damaging condition, and it should not be taken lightly. So what's one thing to hit home with? Taking out gluten could be one of the most beneficial parts of a gut health program. Gluten's path to disease. Okay. So as you can probably guess, gluten's path to disease is pretty direct. The first step is when gluten's contribution goes unnoticed. At this point, it's likely that there's little to no known symptoms. I think it took me years to really develop, but then I look back, and when I was in middle school, I would come home with sharp stabbing pains every single day. What were they saying? She's type A, she stresses a lot. They checked me for an ulcer, but I didn't have one. But I'm convinced back then that was gluten sensitivity. I've never really been tested for celiac disease, but often if you come up with sensitivities to wheat and dairy, they go hand in hand with a gluten intolerance. And I'll touch base on, well, I'll just say it now. I had a food sensitivity test done in 2017. I had so many food sensitivities, and yeast, wheat, dairy, cottage cheese in particular came up as like very high, which I was like, oh, I know that I'm gluten sensitive. Long story short, I did a healing process for about 3 years, and then I did a sensitivity test last year, and the only thing I had, winter squash. So my body has healed itself enough that I had some gluten just last week, 2 weeks ago, in a cake, and I didn't have a reaction. Do I intend to go back to eating gluten all the time? No, but that showed me that I healed my body and that I no longer have a huge inflammation factor or intolerance to it. But I probably would build it back up if I ate it all the time. So at this point, at first the symptoms go unnoticed. This is where most people will assume that gluten won't hurt them and therefore can eat it with no problem. Unfortunately, the lack of apparent symptoms does not mean that gluten doesn't hurt your system. In fact, it takes exposure over time and the accumulation of damage before leaky gut will be noticeable. As I just said, I think I healed it. For those cutting out gluten before they feel any physical discomfort, they are still treating an underlying issue, even if they cannot quite feel it yet. The next step is the progression of subclinical problems. This is where leaky gut truly begins to develop. Often the first thing that will be noticed is increased food and environmental allergies, like I just spoke about. Digestive distress may begin to become more frequent. Unfortunately, it is common for people to still avoid blaming gluten for their discomfort. So again, as I go back to, at one point in time in my life when I thought it was just normal that I went to the bathroom, running to the bathroom after every meal and just going like, oh, I feel light now. I know that's too much information, but it was an everyday thing. And I had to create the times that I ate each and every day when I was home. That's how bad it was, because I felt like I needed to give myself time to eat and follow it up with a bathroom break. And that was my body living off gluten. The last step is to recognize the problem. However, it is not usually recognizing gluten as a problem, but the knowledge of the problem that gluten has caused. For example, if someone is diagnosed with chronic disease or developed inflammatory changes, the medical doctors will begin treating these conditions rather than examining the origin, the root cause. As we just were talking about with the Gut Thrive in 5 program, the root causes are either bacterial, fungi, acid related, stomach acid related, pathogens, parasites, protozoa. It's a shame that this happens so often, as if gluten was recognized as the main problem during the early stages, then a lot of these health issues could have been avoided entirely. Gluten, however, is not the only concern when it comes to solving leaky gut. We will be going through other issues that contribute to digestive system syndrome, this dangerous syndrome, in a moment. Okay. You probably already know what many of them will be. Say no to pesticides. So those are those nasty little things that are on inorganic fruits and vegetables. Much like the additives and preservatives flooding our food supply, pesticides are also a big part of what's going into our plates. There are 3 million tons of pesticides used worldwide each year, and more than 16,000 chemicals involved in the production of these pesticides. Studies to ensure their safety on humans have been very limited, whereas some have no documented research at all. While we are not entirely sure of their safety on human health, we do recognize strong links between pesticide exposure and, let me increase this. So pesticides, this is the reason why, if possible, you want to go inorganic versus organic, because even if you're going inorganic and your agenda is to improve your health, if you're ingesting pesticides, it goes completely against that. So here's links between pesticide exposure and nervous system disorders, immune system suppression, reproductive damage, hormonal imbalances, very much what we see in the gut, right? Thyroid issues, type 2 diabetes, obesity, asthma, migraine headaches, attention disorders, and developmental delay in children. The magnitude that pesticides, along with steroids, hormones, antibiotics, and excitotoxins show up in our food supply is truly frightening, and to think that this is the main component of our leaky gut trend is simply impossible. But now, the good thing is we know that, right? Now you have the information and the knowledge. And now what would be in your best interest? Having known that it's best to go organic, find a local farm, find a CSA, where people are not using pesticides. Eat in season. Food that's produced in season often is cheaper than food out of season. So you might have to kind of figure out what foods are in season, and I might do a webinar on this. I did one last year, but I might redo it. But that can save you money, no question. So oftentimes people think like to buy organic is more expensive. And on some level it is, but you guys, it's still not more expensive than that packaged foods. All the trendy packaged foods, go to Trader Joe's, all their specialty stuff, it's expensive, so if you're going to pay $4 for a bag of cookies, why can't you spend $2.49 versus $1.99 on organic celery, right? It's a matter of priority, and it's a matter of right choices. By reducing animal protein in your diet naturally, you're going to save money. So animal products are higher, on the price range. You start eating more plant-based meals with a few animal protein meals each week, you're going to save money. So there's a way to go about making organic a possibility in your budget for most people. Not everybody, and I understand that. No more drugs. Okay. So this is another area. Hold on. Medication is severely overprescribed in the current medical model used today. Medical programs train doctors to medicate symptoms, even when they are unsure of the cause. I am an example of this. Go back 10 years ago now, and I went to a doctor with sudden onset of panic attacks, thinning hair, just anxiety in general, and hair shedding was really freaking me out. He sat in the office with me 10 minutes, looked at me. I was a runner. I was thinner than the average 36-year-old woman. And I know he summed me up as anxiety-ridden, fear of gaining weight, and just she needs to relax, right? Sent me on my way with a prescription for Celexa, anti-anxiety medication. Went home, did my research, no way, because yes, I'm physically fit and I did not want to gain weight. And those medication, depression and anxiety pills had been known to cause people to gain weight. Why? Because it messes up the natural chemistry of your body and your hormones. So I got the prescription, it sat on the shelf, never took it. I did more and more research. I had been experimenting with veganism to lower my cholesterol on some level, but not at that point. I wasn't plant-based at that point. No, not at all. That's when I discovered that I had high LDL. But long story short, I did a lot of research and I was like, I could be iron deficient anemic. And so what did I do? I noticed that anxiety, hair shedding, blah, blah, blah. I resolved my own issue. And within 3 months, my iron levels were up because I ate the right foods. I did all the lifestyle habits in addition to supplementation. And I had to fight. I had to be my own advocate because they were not checking my ferritin. They were like, oh, your iron's fine. Your hemoglobin's fine. I'm like, I need my ferritin checked. And sure enough, my ferritin was 23, according to normal charts. A doctor will say you're in normal range, but normal range and optimally functioning range are two different things. Luckily, my friend is a doctor and I messaged him and he was like, no, I'd be treating you if you were 40 or below. Okay, so then, like I said, I did what I had to do, but had I not been my own advocate, he would have sent me on my way with Celexa saying I had anxiety issues. My hair would have continued to shed. I would have continued to have an iron deficiency, lack of nutrient absorption going on. Maybe I'd be calmer, but I would still be sick. So I'm very passionate about this. So when people are like, Western medicine is necessary. But when you've experienced that end of the equation of a doctor not listening to you and knowing, and you kind of going like, no, something's wrong, it's very frustrating. And so, and they treat that symptom and not the root cause. This in the short term has seemed to work because the patient is experienced temporarily from the discomfort. So again, the discomfort, but not the problem. But what it isn't taken into account is how these excessive prescriptions have affected our bodies. For example, statin drugs used to lower cholesterol have been shown to lower vitamin D and CoQ10 levels. While it may be lowering cholesterol, it is simultaneously causing nutrient deficiencies, muscle fatigue, increased blood pressure, and weakened immunity. And the funny thing is, you guys, vitamin D, it's a hormone this day and age. And it's closely related to proper functioning cholesterol making in the body. But if you're taking a statin drug and it's showing to lower levels of vitamin D, it could be, kind of causing an issue more than it's helping. The statin, that is. Painkillers like ibuprofen, naproxen, and aspirin contribute to vitamin C and iron deficiencies, leaving one vulnerable to disease and eroding the mucosal line of the stomach. And vitamin C is necessary for stress management. Acid reduction medications hinder the digestion of protein, calcium, and vitamin B12, often causing chronic pain problems. So acid reflux, which a lot of people with SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, experience, as well as H. pylori, low stomach acid. But if you're taking products to help with acid, high acid in the body, you're hindering the digestion of protein, calcium, and B12, causing other chronic pain problems. Long-term use of antidepressants to significantly impact the gut's motility and causes digestive issues. Lastly, it's important to note that almost all medications are unable to differentiate between good bacteria in our gut and the illness it is trying to attack. That results in an altered microbiome and a much greater risk of infections. As you can tell, drugs offer a lot of unintended consequences that can affect our health very badly. There are very few situations where drugs should be your solution, such as life-threatening infection or a surgical situation. Without immediate emergency needs of medication, it is best to treat the issue that is to temporarily patch a problem. So I'm kind of reading all my research, but it's very mind-boggling to think. So I'm not saying we don't need Western med. Obviously, it has improved and saved people's lives. But when we look at how many people are just taking medications day in and day out, and they weren't taught how to make lifestyle related changes that could prevent some of these issues, we're seeing people dying slower. They're not improving the quality of their lives. They're just on all these, oxygen tanks, medications day after day, spending a lot of money on these medications that they're keeping them alive, but they're not truly living. And that's what we have to look at: quality of life over length of life. And you can prevent some of this. You really, really, really can. Nobody can say what's going to happen. I'm one of those firm believers. Certain things are up to faith and, those kind of things. But with that being said, you can do certain things each and every day that at least put the odds in your hands. The 5 critical elements of healthy gut function. Our gut has 5 critical elements or defenses that it truly needs for healthy gut function. In order from the outermost layer of defense, they include mucosal IgA, otherwise known as immunoglobulin A. The antibody found in the mucous membrane is considered your gut's first line of defense against toxins. So the IgA. Tight junctions. These are small proteins that are responsible for holding the gut cells together, the mortar, basically. That is what is most directly affected by leaky gut syndrome. Gastro-associated lymphoid tissue, also known as GALT, G-A-L-T. Gastro-associated lymphoid tissue. This is the gut's concentrated immune system and is in fact 70% of our immune system altogether. This is the gut's last and most powerful layer of defense. The gut's accessory defenses include friendly bacteria. As we mentioned, we have more bacteria in our bodies than we do our own cells. So there's more bacteria than our cells. This bacteria can communicate with the GALT, warning it of potential danger. So remember, the GALT is where your immune system is, the gastro-associated lymphoid tissue. And the friendly bacteria communicates with the GALT. Stomach acid. This is absolutely essential for digestion, absorption of nutrients, and defense against infections. But the SAD diet that we so commonly hear of has reduced people's level of stomach acid production, hydrochloric acid production. And that was when I did the Gut Thrive program. I had H. pylori, too low stomach acid. And there's a whole stomach acid challenge that I take my clients through. And basically that program is healing the body's ability to restore its natural production of hydrochloric acid, among other things. If there is any dysfunction throughout the gut's line of defense, these 5 primary barriers need to be evaluated in order to heal and be treated properly. The beginning of functional treatment. Okay, the first step of healing is ruling out the fundamental causes of your leaky gut, those areas that I already touched on: pathogens, bacteria, fungi, low stomach acid, parasites, protozoa. It is important to recognize it is very rarely only one cause, but a combination of several causing the damage. You must first rule out or begin to recognize the following: vitamin deficiencies by functional nutrition testing, So anytime somebody's complaining of like stress-related issues, panic attacks, those dizziness, shortness of breath, I always say, get your nutrients tested, because low levels of particular nutrients can create a vast array of stress-related symptoms. Infectious pathogens by blood and GI tract tests, but I have an assessment that is proven over time to be just as effective or to show as testing alone. The questionnaire has proven to be like dead on so many times. And again, I learned this program through people who've been doing it, over 7,000 people that they've treated. Heavy metal toxicity by urine or hair testing, gluten sensitivity through HLA, genetic testing, environmental allergies via skin or blood tests. To be honest, you guys, really, I would say get your vitamins deficiencies checked first and foremost. And then if you need a test for infectious pathogens, but some of this, by going through a gut healing protocol, you might just take care of without getting all this tested. If any of these come back positive, you have the first step of instructions: address the deficiencies, implement dietary changes, limit exposure to allergens, and consider detoxification methods. Once you have a better understanding of your body's unique needs, you can begin the formal functional medicine protocol, the 4 R's. Functional 4. The 4R program is administered to help you heal from digestive distress, heal but reverse gut complications, and rebalance your gastrointestinal microbiome. It is an incredible tool to acknowledge and treat health issues, dysfunctions, imbalances, and personal health needs. It is done in the following order: remove, eliminate problem foods, toxins, low-grade infections, and oxidative stress. In all honesty, you really need a health practitioner to help you with all of this area, because as I said, depending on your major root cause is going to determine what foods you really need to take out and what supplements at times really need to go in. It's all different for different things. There's an overlying commonality with some differences, but those differences can make an impact on whether you truly heal. Repair. So first you want to remove, pathogen purge, basically. Then you want to repair. Begins reintroducing a clean diet with essential nutrients your body needs and taking out the bad weeds of your garden and planting the good seeds, right? That's what your microbiome is all about. Restore, repopulate your gut with healthy bacteria to restore the proper balance of gut flora. So remove, repair the leaky gut, restore, and then replace. Replace digestive enzymes, antioxidants, and immune-boosting vitamins to promote sustainable and healthy digestion. But with a really good gut healing protocol, your main goal is to get your body in a state of balance that your parietal cells, which produce your digestive enzymes, are producing enough digestive enzymes to adequately digest your food and allow for nutrient absorption. You really do not want your body to rely on digestive enzymes. Early in the program and throughout the program, they are included, yes, to take a break from off your digestive system. But when you really heal this and reseed and terraform, your body's goal is to not need them on a regular basis. We as functional medicine practitioners are trained in this product enthusiast protocol and enthusiasts about making sure your individual needs are addressed during the process, as I just talked about. Remove the bad. At this point, you may have already removed things you already knew were to be detrimental to your health, such as gluten and known allergens. Known allergens are corn, soy, wheat, the gluten, sugar. I'm sure I'm missing something in there, but sugar, gluten, dairy, soy, corn, peanuts, shellfish, for many people, are common allergens. But you'll also want to remove much of the chemical burden in your daily life. This includes pesticides on foods, as we touched on, genetically modified organisms. If you're eating corn, corn and soy are two of the highest genetically modified substances. Make sure it is organic. Unnecessary medications and unnatural household cleaners. And we're hearing more and more about clean products. I personally use doTERRA. I like the essential oils. It's plant-based. Repair, restore, replace. So those are 3 of the 4 R's. Repair, restore, replace. Once you have understanding of what should be removed, step 1, from your daily life, and you've begun to implement those changes, it is time to begin repairing the damage that has previously been done. Now keep in mind, when you're healing your gut, certain things that your body cannot handle at the beginning stage, by the end of terraforming, which goes on for quite some time, a gut healing protocol lasts anywhere from 3 to 6 months on average. But what you will find with the proper protocol is that foods that you once could not eat, and you have to take them out for this to specifically remove the insults on your digestive tract and gut in the moment, you will be able to eat again one day because the body found a state of balance and decrease inflammation. This is done by calming chronic inflammation and reintroducing nutritious foods, digestive enzymes, probiotics, essential fiber, vitamins, minerals, and acids. Again, work with a health practitioner who understands all this, because someone with SIBO, for example, cannot have fiber for a long time into the protocol. For some people, these steps may mean implementing intermittent fasting, supplementation, or personalized diet plans that cater to their specific health needs. Again, be sure to consult with your functional medicine practitioner to be sure you're beginning the most appropriate repair route for your needs. Supplementation spotlight. Supplements are an absolute must on the Gut Thrive in 5 protocol because, again, step 1, we're nourishing the body. We're providing the nutrients in order to prep it to be able to go through the pathogen purge. The pathogen purge is basically what it says. You're purging out your main root cause, in addition to kind of taking care of other things that might be involved as well, but you're hitting that root cause. So you're taking out the bad weeds in order to leave room to plant the good seeds. And supplementation is extremely necessary for that. And then different supplements are needed to repair and reseed. And then different supplements are needed for terraforming. In order to then get your body in a state of balance that you don't need a ton of supplements to be optimally functioning. So nutrients must be replaced for effective healing. While everyone's needs are highly individualized, here are some common supplements that have been proven to be helpful in the gut healing process. Probiotics, prebiotics, digestive enzymes, fiber, collagen, turmeric, L-glutamine, and quercetin. These are only suggestions. We are unable to prescribe these supplements to you without comprehensive testing, as everyone's nutritional needs vary. However, the main takeaway from this is that you should not rely solely on supplements. They can be used to help your healing process, but the goal is to be able to sustain wellness with whole foods and to a healthy lifestyle, as we just talked about, long-term without piles of pills. Maintenance. The most difficult part of health is maintaining it. Even if you build a strong foundation during the healing process, without the proper diet, lifestyle choices, and stress management long-term, you can fall right back into the same gut-destroying habits. And remember, health is a journey and not a destination. So in the gut protocol that I administer to my clients, the last step is the 80-20 rule. And so you learn how can you maintain this. And so it's finding that balance so that you're not living a restrictive life, but you're enjoying certain things, but you're learning in what amounts how. So for instance, 80-20 rule, you take out alcohol during the gut healing process, but 80-20 rule means you can have 3 days a week in which you enjoy a glass of wine. Not every night, but 3 days a week. So you're not restricting. Skip the guesswork, guys. Skip the guesswork. Although there is plenty of research on the dangers of leaky gut, it's still considered a medical mystery. Many causes go misdiagnosed and in turn not properly treated. It is crucial to work with a doctor familiar with the condition and will perform the appropriate tests in order for you to heal effectively and efficiently. Always start with the fundamentals. Honor your body's unique needs and skip the guesswork. Oh, thank you. So thank you for taking time. I know this kind of seems long. A lot of information was given to you just now, but I have taken 2 people as I was going through the course. I had 2 case studies, and you guys, I can't put it into words, but one case study in particular, I saw it. I saw it in her well-being. I saw it in her energy, her skin coloring, but more her mood and her mindset. And I think that was a combination of getting down to the root cause of the issue, but I also think it was a combination of the support that she was receiving and just talking about her health and talking about health as a whole person, and addressing things outside of healing the gut with practices and lifestyles and having somebody as a cheerleader, basically. And so I meet with my clients once a week via Zoom sessions. And because this program was so intensive, I guess you could say, in terms of like, it required quite a bit of commitment, but to see the outcome and to see, you know, the brittle nails and the nutrient deficiencies and the minerals in the teeth that seemed to, the dental work that was having issues, but to see all that starting to improve. Somebody who thought it was kind of normal and was about to see a digestive, she was going to, or has been going to a digestive specialist, and within week 2 of the program and certain supplement that she was placed on, she was like, I'm going to the bathroom again. Whereas they were very concerned because I couldn't go. I mean, there's a host of things that were improved from physiologically to mentally and emotionally. So gut health, you can't undermine it. It is so important. So again, if you're experiencing bloat, gas, constipation, yes, you probably have leaky gut. If you're experiencing allergies, insomnia, infertility, psoriasis, eczema, I mean, there could be a host of things that you're experiencing, but doing a gut health protocol is not going to hurt you. If you're interested, reach out to me. If you're like, I'm to the point where like, yes, I need to do something about this, we can work together and I can do a free 30-minute Zoom session with you to see where, you know, I could have you fill out a health history and we can chat for about 30 minutes and decide if this program is right for you, and to get you on your way. But I just want you to know that you can feel better and you don't have to feel this way, and that the quality of life should be your goal, not just living longer. Can you get out? Can you enjoy life? Do you feel motivation? Do you experience inspiration, motivation, joy, and vitality on a regular basis? Or are you just getting through your days? If you're just getting through your days exhausted, irritable, moody, that's not living. And you need to kind of figure out what's causing that. So anyway, guys, thank you for listening in. And I hope you found this very informative. And you can reach me at amyblackburn.net. That is my website. I have an Instagram, Amy_whole_health, to stay in touch with some of my latest postings about gut, adrenal, and thyroid health. I am a graduate of the Institute of Integrative Nutrition as well, where I received my certification in health coaching as well as hormone health specialist, and more recently, Gut Thrive in 5 health practitioner through the whole journey. So yeah, anyways, thank you for watching, and I'm going to end this now. And have a wonderful day, guys.